who couldn't find the Strait of Hormuz on a map are gravitating towards this stuff because it's funny, it's self-aware, and it's a total vibe shift. Iran realized that if you want to win a war in 2026, you don't start with a lecture, you start with a meme. So here we are. Let's try and find out how all this has happened and what lessons can be drawn. And to discuss this, I'm joined by two very valuable, very well-known and very qualified guests to speak on this. Asad Baig is my first guest. He's a writer, journalist, media strategist. He's also the founder and executive director of Media Matters for Democracy, and also writes a very widely read column in Dawn newspaper. Ali Aftab Saeed is my other guest. He's a TV producer, documentary filmmaker, and a journalist with a long experience. Thank you both for joining us. Ali, in fact, let me just start with you. I'm sure you've seen these Lego videos, and it wasn't something that we expected to be coming out of Iran in this conflict. What kind of an impact do you think it's having?
It has had a great impact up till now, and we saw this whole meme game that we won square and fair when we had this skirmish or war with India, and now Iran is very effectively portraying his narrative through all this. But again, you see, it has now become easier for countries or for people to do this because of AI. You see, it used to be very difficult making songs, making AI, making Lego videos, making animations, making so memes. But now with AI, you can do it with a few prompts, and so more people will try to do this. More successful they'll be at it. So if like 300,000 people are making such videos, you'll bound to get like 30 good ones.
Absolutely.
So this is very effective.
And in fact, Asad, what really surprised me and probably everybody else was that, you know, if this was a war between Iran and some other country, one could have in some ways expected that Iran would do well, but it's a war with the US. I mean, US is a country that actually started this whole concept of soft power and media and narrative building, and they are on the defensive.
I think, Fahd, to be honest with you, I was not ready for this kind of information that is coming out, which is entertainment, infotainment, all of that combined in just one package, which is scary, as you rightly pointed out, and also funny at the same time, right? I was not prepared for that. And frankly, yes, you're absolutely right. US really has been at the forefront when it comes to the information warfare. I mean, look at, for instance, what Trump did in his campaign, right? Trump focused completely on the podcast as opposed to the mainstream media. And this time around, frankly speaking, I was surprised. Not only that, but the kind of information that they were putting out, the mediums that they were putting out through, right? So they were kindly focusing on, very narrowly focusing on Gen Z impact. Also, Fahd, there is one more thing that I don't know if this is a forum to talk about it, but one thing that I'm really kind of thinking about is that why hasn't our media, the mainstream media, evolved like that when it comes to information distribution, right? Talking about stories, for instance. Why can't we think of any other innovative ways of kind of transporting information like the Iran is doing, for instance, right? Brilliantly done job, that's all I can say.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. In fact, you know, in this program, I had a discussion with some of my colleagues from the media, and my argument is that, you know, we should have done far better than what we have, given the fact that we are, you know, key players in all of this. But unfortunately, we have not been able to produce value-added content. And I was just telling my colleagues that I now spend less time reading Pakistani media and much more time consuming content from foreign platforms, because I find much more higher quality, more information-based reporting from there. So Ali, that is a problem here. But I think, as you very correctly said, that when it came to meme wars, we were far ahead of India. Again, you know, at two countries where Indian soft power is well known, and there's no doubt about the power of their Bollywood and etc. But when it came to humor, we beat them hands down and continue to do so.
Yeah, so we will always do that because we, as a nation, we are good at making fun of ourselves as well. So India has recently started taking themselves too seriously,
Exactly.
and yeah, this will always go against them. Secondly, the thing is that so like in this instance, we see that Iran is dominating US in this whole narrative or memes or these Lego videos thing. It's because so people non you general public is doing this. Had US gave this assignment to Hollywood to do it, then probably they might have done something. But regular people in US are not interested in this. They're the aggressors. There is no point in them being active on media and doing propaganda for the US. Whereas in Iran, people want to participate in this
It's a
because
very
they've
good
been
point.
attacked.
Yeah.
So whoever can fight is fighting, whoever can't is doing this.
That's an excellent point. And we were speaking about India, Asad, and you've written an excellent column today in which you've argued that there's an outrage industry in India and on the media is in many ways much more destructive than constructive. The impact that they're having is negative. So what is your reading? What is wrong with this Indian media, and don't they realize the damage it is doing to their image?
No, I think Fahd, they do realize the damage that they've been doing to themselves, but also they don't care about that. That's what my reading is, and this is something we've been speaking about for a while now. Remember, we've had this conversation many times over, specifically about the hate on social media platforms and so on. But the point is that they've come to the stage, the Indian media specifically, where we have created what we call a perfect storm, right? And that perfect storm is basically a means for them to get profit every single time there is a conflict in the region, whether it relates to them, whether it doesn't relate to them, and so on and so forth. And by the way, this model that I was talking about in my article, this is being replicated by many other countries, including our, Pakistan. It was replicated, a while ago when there was a certain political party in power in Pakistan, and so on and so forth. So this is sadly their moment of earning profit. And one thing that we don't really talk about is that this kind of hate we talk about, that the Indian media is brewing hate and Indian media is talking about this and that. What we don't understand is that this is actually their way of making profit and their way of cashing upon the hate that they've created within the public. And why it prompted me to write this article. In general, I was very surprised of why they're doing it, because obviously this kind of peace building will affect India if anybody else in the region, right? And I generally went to their Twitter space and I genuinely found random people who were pissed off about Pakistan's involvement in the peace process. And I started wondering, why are they doing it? And this cycle essentially is something that they're building on, right? So Indian media is specifically profiting from that. Do not think about that they're getting emotional in the process. Do not think about that they want a certain kind of narrative. The only thing that they're after is profit, and they're minting millions out from the conflict and so on. But at the same time, they're hurting their own people, like I mentioned in the article as well, the kind of violence and hate that we see brewing on ground in India.
So thank you both for joining us and sharing your views with us. That brings us to the end of our show. That's the full frame for tonight. See you Monday.